Hello and thanks for joining me at IT Home Lab Online. In this video, we're going to configure our Raspberry Pi 4 as an Ethernet gadget based on Ben Hardill's guide from 23rd December 2023. This allows us to remotely control our Raspberry Pi on a phone, tablet or laptop connected via USB-C cable. This means we don't have to have a pre-configured Wi-Fi connection or can switch between Wi-Fi access points with ease. Now, let's get started. For this exercise, I'm using my Raspberry Pi 4 and my laptop. I've chosen the Raspberry Pi 4 over the Pi 5 as the Pi 5 has a higher power requirement that iPads phones have trouble supplying. Some laptops like my Dell have a BIOS setting to allow 15-watt charging from the USB port, so that does make it suitable. I'll start the process by imaging my SD card using the Raspberry Pi Imager. If you haven't done this before, it's a fairly simple process. Firstly, I'll select my device. I'm using a Pi 4 for this exercise. My operating system. I'm applying this to a 16 gig SD card. I'm going to leave the host name as standard, so it'll come out as Raspberry Pi. I'm going to set my time zone for my local region and leave it on US keyboard. I've configured my username as Pi and a standard password that I use. I've already got this pre-configured for my wireless access point, but I don't need to do this for this particular exercise. And I'm going to enable SSH so that I can access it via the command prompt. Not going to enable Raspberry Pi Connect. And confirm. Okay, we can cancel this. This is Windows trying to mount the disk that's currently being written to. And this particular section will take a few minutes, so I'm just going to pause the video here and I'll resume once it's completed. Okay, so that's finished up now. So I'll just hit finish, eject the card and insert it in my Pi. Okay, and then I need to power up my Pi. Now that'll take a moment just to initialize and configure everything up. Now, in hindsight, the fact that I have added the wireless connection is going to make it easier for me because then I can SSH directly into the Pi. If you didn't enable Wi-Fi, that's fine. You can do this directly from the Pi's console. So just waiting for the lights on the Pi to settle down. I'll use advanced IP scanner to determine the IP address of my Pi. So I've got my laptop and my Raspberry Pi configured for the same wireless network. Still waiting for the flashing lights, so we'll just give that a moment. We can run the scan now, there's no harm, but I don't think it will detect just yet. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. So my username that I set. First time connecting. Enter your password. And away we go. Okay. So going back to Ben Hardill's document, can be found at this address. I'll also include this link in the description. I've copied and pasted the commands in here just to make it a bit easier for me to edit it. Okay. So go down to the very bottom of the file. Actually, I'll show you his page first. So instructions are here. It was a little, to me, it feels a little bit reversed, but it's just a matter of reading through. So he's got the name of the file that needs to be modified, and then the item that needs to be updated here. So copy that, put that at the very bottom of the file. It does appear further up, but I found that just relying on those doesn't work. Having it at the very bottom seemed to be a bit more reliable for me. So Control X and save, enter, and then back to this document, modify the command.txt. And again, I found this to be the most reliable place to paste it after the root wait before quiet. I have used this on other operating systems successfully. After the root wait seems to be the key position. So I'll copy that, paste that in there, Control X, Y to save. Okay. Adding libcomposite to the modules. Again, that goes at the bottom. Okay. So the next file to modify or create is the USB gadget file. So same process. Now I've pre-copied that to my notepad in a separate tab. So select all of that, copy it, paste it. Just make sure you don't have any extra spaces. If you copy directly from the website, you might end up with these spaces in the gaps. These have caused issues for me in the past. So just anything that's highlighted in that green appears before text. Just remove that if there's no text after. So basically if it's a leading space. Okay, control. Okay. Then we need to make that executable. So we'll do a chmod to that file. +X makes it executable, and that's the same path as the file we edited above. As you can see, it's a lot easier if you pre-populate a text file to do this. Okay, so again, I've copied that text into a separate tab, so Control A for all, copy, paste. Again, make sure you get rid of any trailing spaces, unnecessary. Okay. So the next step is to enable the USB gadget as a service. We'll copy that. Symlink has been created. Now this next step sets up the network bridging. This is different for different operating systems. So the latest version, 64-bit version of Raspberry Pi operating system, uses the nmcli command. If you're using a different type of networking, it's slightly different setup, but we're going from the guide using the same operating system. So we can copy that, paste it. So it's connection bridges successfully added. Just make sure we got all of them. Yes, okay. So now we're going to do a sudo apt update just to make sure we get the latest version. I haven't updated all the software on this Pi yet, so you're welcome to do that at any point. I haven't done it for this video, but I will run that update so that I can then install the latest version of DNSMask. DNSMask is what sets up DHCP to run from the Pi, which means that when you plug it in, you don't have to set up a static IP address. If you have a look here, the IP address that we've set on the Raspberry Pi for its IP address is 10.55.0.1. So when we update this DNSMask file, we'll use the same range for its DHCP. So again, back to my notepad. So this will use a range of 10.55.0.2 through to 10.55.0.6, so only a small range. We don't need to give out a lot of DHCP addresses. We actually really only need one, but for this purpose we'll just allocate a few. So paste that in there, save it. Okay. Now I'm going to enable VNC so that you can remote to it using a graphical interface. So just go into the interface options. As you can see, my text document in the background, option 3, select VNC and say yes. Okay, we'll finish that off. Now, the next step will be to reboot the Pi. We will wait a moment for that to reconnect. Now initially I'll connect back in via the Wi-Fi access. And that beep in the background that I hope you heard should be the Ethernet gadget detecting. So just to check, I'll do an IPA to get my IP addresses. And you'll see here this bridge has been created and it has an IP address of 10.55.0.1. So what I'll do now is I will exit from the SSH session. I'll create a new SSH session, but in this case I'll go to 10.55.0.1. It can take a little while for the DHCP address to appear, so I'll just cancel that. I'll do an IP config on my Windows machine, and you can see it has created this Ethernet adapter. So that's the device. It's currently got an IP address of 169.254.135.142. That means that it hasn't allocated an IP address correctly, but it has now. Okay, so it's changed to 10.55.0.5. So if I now try and SSH into this, I get prompted, enter my password, and I'm connected successfully. I'll do a IP space A. So I'm now connected via this interface. If I were to go in and change my wireless LAN settings, I would still be connected and could connect to a new interface. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to download Real VNC Viewer. Accept all cookies. I'm downloading the Windows version, and I only need the viewer because I'm connecting to my Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi comes with a VNC license, so you don't need to purchase anything for it. If you want to connect to other devices, then you potentially do need to purchase a license. Install Real VNC Viewer. And close down IP scanner. Okay, and if I open up Real VNC Viewer, so I can ignore all of this. I don't want to send anonymous usage, so I'll untick that. We'll put in the IP address of our Pi. Actually, I'll copy that, and we'll do a file new connection. This way we can save it for later. We'll get a friendly name of Pi4 Gadget, and OK. And now if we double click on here, click on continue, enter in our credentials. If you're the only one using this, you can save those credentials, and OK. And there you have it. We've connected to the Raspberry Pi via Real VNC Viewer. Now I'll go in here and I will disconnect from the wireless, and you'll see I'm still connected. I can open up a terminal, I can do an IPA, and you can see there's no IP address associated with my wireless LAN, so purely connected by the bridge on that IP address there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to try is to unplug the Pi4 from my laptop and plug it into my iPad. Now just wait a moment for the Pi to boot up. And what I'm hoping to see is on my iPad an Ethernet adapter should appear, and did. So I will tap on that Ethernet adapter, and it's showing as a display Pi USB device. And I'm not seeing an IP address yet, but as I said, it can take a moment. So it's got the non-DHCP IP address assigned so far. And if we just give it a moment, that is now updated to 10.55.0.6. So now what I can do is I can switch to my Real VNC app. Okay, I'll add a new entry on here. Same thing, 10.55.0.1. I'll call it Pi4 Gadget, given that it's the same on both the laptop and the iPad, and hit connect. And it failed identity check. Now, the reason why this has happened is because I have had gadgets connected to this device before, so it's not recognizing the ID of the device, basically. So enter my credentials in again. And remember password, continue, and there you go. So I can resize it, move the mouse, tap. So there you have it, a Raspberry Pi 4 Ethernet gadget powered by the device. If you found this video interesting, please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and see the links below.